Sometimes you'll hear people talk about living the Christian life as being like a journey. And maybe you thought, oh God, I've heard that too many times. But let me give you something just a little bit different about that, because, well, journeys sometimes, they're a little meandering, but there's things taken along the way. I mean, consider the possibilities that right now, in our seasons of faith, we're in the middle of ordinary time, this small slice of ordinary time that comes to us after the Christmas season, which was, let's say, like around January 12th, and is going till Ash Wednesday, which is March 5th. And then we have the Lent and the Easter season, and the following Easter season. Then we get into ordinary time in summer. But what I wanted to say was that the journeys we make, maybe we don't always appreciate that there's chances to stop along the way. If you were driving, say, from here to Buffalo, for example, on a cold winter day, on the thruway, you might stop at one of those rest stops along the way, or you might get off at an off-ramp and go into town just to relax, or get something hot to drink, or put some gas in the car, whatever you're going to do. Or maybe you're going to go exploring. There's people you want to stop and see them. A day like today, presentation of the Lord, is like one of those stops in the journey. It's a little bit of a spiritual off-ramp for us. We can stop and linger and take in what's going on. And you heard Deacon Mike proclaim the gospel. No need to go through all of that again, but just consider, let's say, that Mary and Joseph come, and you can imagine they were very surprised in the temple when they were approached separately by Simeon and by Anna. They had no idea that was going to happen. But it was Jesus who was being brought to the temple, not just for presentation, but really Jesus was meeting his people. And Simeon and Anna are among those first people Jesus meets. And if you were to stop and think about the words that they used, I mean, Simeon, almost it sounds very dramatic for him to say, well, now I have seen the coming of the Messiah. Lord, you can take me. I am ready for death. Because he's been waiting. He's been told he would not die before he saw the Christ. Or Anna. And think about that. The phrase that Luke used. She'd been married 7 years and then had been in the temple since her husband died years before. She was 84 years old. I mean, folks, consider how long people lived back then. To be 84 years old. Wow. No 7-Eleven for prescriptions back then, okay? 84 years old. And she was in the temple night and day, praying and fasting, because she knew from a vision that she would be coming to see the Messiah too. What's the phrase that Simeon uses? Consolation for Israel and a light for the Gentiles, a light for the nations. Oh yeah, hey, by the way, all those candles, a light for the nations. So they're there, and if you ask them why they would be there, I'm sure they would very, very deferentially say, oh, I'm supposed to be here. But is it special? Nothing special about that. I was just called by the Spirit to be here. Hey, folks, have we considered how we're called? Okay, and who am I talking to today? Sisters and brothers of Jesus. Sisters and brothers in baptism, confirmation, and Eucharist. The opportunities to share in the journey of Jesus, to receive God's love, to share in the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Yeah, Anna and Simeon were called. We are too. Now you might think, well, how am I being called? I mean, my life is busy enough. What's going on? Well, consider a possibility. How many times in your life maybe have you spent a night with a sick member of your family, or a friend or a neighbor? Maybe there's that elderly couple across the street and she's sick. Maybe you spent the night with them to make sure she was all right. Moments like that come up. How about when maybe you call the kids in for lunch, and they've been playing outside. You invite one of the friends to come in, and boy, it's not just that he looks hungry. Hey, he really is hungry. We have moments like that, don't we? You can tell someone maybe at work or in the neighborhood is kind of troubled. And you, just by being patient, providing time. We live in a world where everything is measured to the second. You spent time listening to someone, to him or to her, pour out their heart to you. What a gift you gave them. Yeah, we're called too. Those are things we can do in the everyday. And how about if I take a step back and look at, say, since so many of us define ourselves in terms of our work, have we considered maybe how we could be, say, a spiritual person who happens to be an accountant, or a nurse, or a teacher, or a student, or I drive a truck for Greene County, or I work at the Port of Queens, or I work at the Watervliet Arsenal, or I'm a nurse, or I work at the Stewarts down the street, or at Griffin's. How many times can we consider our calling in terms of the people we meet and how we can respond to them? How can I make my life spiritual? How can I make my work spiritual? I can, on this day when we celebrate the presentation of the Lord, I can present the Lord to other people in lots of ways. I can feed the hungry. I can be with the sick and heal them. I can share my faith. I can welcome the neighbor, welcome the stranger, welcome the newcomer into my life, into my home. All these things we're called to do. Hey, by the way, if that sounds a little familiar, think Beatitudes, or maybe in a different context, think corporal and spiritual works of mercy. How can I be someone who is alive in spirit and answers a call, just like Simeon and Anna? They did that, and we can do it too. In a different look, in a different context, yeah. Hey, we live in a different millennium than they did, but we still share in the gifts of the Spirit. What can we do to make that come alive and be people who are sisters and brothers of Christ in the complete sense of the word? That we can be agents of healing and forgiveness and renewal and faith and love and generosity and more. All those gospel virtues, we can make them come alive. We can present them to others as we present the Lord to others. Hey, let us rejoice and be glad. Like I said a little earlier, life tends to be like journeys. You can keep driving ahead, or you can stop at that rest stop, or you can take that off-ramp, and you can stop and you can linger spiritually with people, and you can find ways to give them a taste of the Lord.